Hello, Tarot viewers. Welcome to our Timeless Oracle reading. Our Oracle card for today belongs to the Mediumship Training Deck. And our card for today is entitled Evidence of Spirit. Okay, although this card is really dedicated for training people who are called to be mediums. These are people who are called to relay messages between people who are in our present reality and those who have gone ahead of us. Usually they become sort of like conduits for communication to allow people who are left behind here in this dimension to find healing. Now, we can still benefit from this one in this topic of the evidence of spirit if you try to realize it, look at it in the bigger picture, because somehow in this card it tells here the importance of the medium to be able to really gain or receive all the messages that they are receiving, or as much as they can, the messages that they are receiving from the inner world or from our spirit world. Now, the importance here that is being emphasized in this card is the importance of learning to trust our intuition, our gut feeling, the things that come to our mind. And this we can use in our everyday life, whether we are a medium, whether you are a tarot reader or a diviner, or whether you are just an ordinary people or an ordinary person who wants to listen more to the guiding hand of the spirit in our present journey. So the important message here is learning to trust the first things that come into our mind, especially when you are in a certain situation and you're asking for guidance from the divine or from your spirit guides. It's very important to trust our first thoughts, even if the logical mind somehow questions that thought. For example, you are in a situation and you're about to go to decide on something, then suddenly something comes suddenly in your mind, and when that certain thing comes into your mind, immediately, if your logical mind tells you, but that's strange, maybe that will not happen, but then deep inside it just suddenly came from out of the blue. Now the challenge for us is to learn to trust that first thought that comes into our mind. So for example, if you are a tarot reader, you are holding a card and you are reading that card, and suddenly a thought comes to you or a song comes to you. You need to trust that first thought, and you need to mention that. You try to mention that and try to say, okay, this suddenly came into my mind. It's the same also when we are making decision in life. Sometimes suddenly one thing suddenly comes out of the blue when you are thinking of a certain question or a certain problem that you need to solve, and something just comes out of the blue, and it seems like it's quite unusual and it's quite a little bit strange. The idea comes to be a little bit strange. The challenge for us is to learn to trust it, especially if it is something that seems to be something that will not harm anybody. It just suddenly comes, and then it's like, okay, if I try doing this, it won't hurt to try it. Then try it. And oftentimes, when we do that, we get to be surprised and we get to realize that it was actually the message that we needed at that right time and at that right moment. So here, the message here is to learn to trust everything that comes into your mind when you are communicating with your inner self, especially when you are trying to find a solution to a certain problem, or when you're trying to find a certain direction. It's not only the first thing that comes into your mind. Sometimes it's just from out of the blue. You're trying to solve a certain problem, and then a certain vision comes into your mind. Like for example, a certain fast food area. If for example you're looking for a certain person, the the vision or of a fast food area that you usually go to somehow comes into your mind, and you follow that vision, and then you go to that area, and then you find the answer to your problem, or you meet the person you are looking for. Certain things as simple as, and sometimes even harmless thoughts, can be the answer to the question that we often have. Sometimes even just by what you feel, a certain gut feeling. Like for example, if you are making a choice between two things, one thing really resonates with you as if it's calling to you. There is a certain bond that you feel towards a certain thing. And you make that choice and you realize that it was the best choice. So I feel that the message of this card for today is learning to trust your intuition, learning to trust your gut feeling, learning to trust the thoughts that come into your mind, and also the synchronicity of things, and also uh, the repetitive things that happens, whether it be in the dream, in our dreams, and in our reality. Learning to do this is like learning to listen to our intuition and learning to listen to the guidance of the spirit. So this, I feel, is the message of the card for today, and it's learning to trust your intuition. And when we look at it at that sense, the message that this card gives becomes applicable to everyone. So evidence of the spirit is somehow for me an indirect way also of telling us, listen to the spirit. So learning to trust also the spirit. It's a process. No, actually we had it when we were young, but somehow as we try to learn to adapt into this world, some of us tend to lose that kind of gift. And now is a time for us. Now that you've read this card, maybe this is a step forward towards the relearning of this gift that all of us have received since birth. Now, let us try to read from the card, the back of the card, and try to see if we can gain more insights regarding evidence of spirit. The process of validation is an essential part of authenticating the identity of a spirit when creating the link, helping to confirm the continuity of life. So this is, for example, sometimes when the medium has to communicate with a certain spirit that is related to the person that they are helping, sometimes the spirit gives them certain evidences to prove to the person that really the spirit that is trying to communicate with the person is actually related to them. Okay. Unless it is unlikely to be considered authentic mediumship. So, the process of validation is an essential part of authenticating the identity of a spirit when creating the link, helping to confirm the continuity of life. Unless a medium can validate the connection with evidence, it is unlikely to be considered authentic mediumship. Okay, I had to repeat it again so that somehow it was so it's like that. Unless the person or the medium is able to establish the certain evidences that it is really the spirit that is really talking to the one, the spirit was related to the person that they are trying to help. No? Then the person who is listening to the medium will not be able to trust them. Okay, so let's continue. A medium working with absolute integrity will only ever stand the test of time by the quality of their evidence. When a spirit provides evidence that is totally supported by true life facts, the healing connection with the loved one is one of the most powerful occurrences to witness. Evidence is received through the spiritual senses. A spirit will create a strong link to support the relationship to the seeker. The seeker is the one who is listening. and offer evidence such as physical features, names, jobs, family connections, and special memories. There is nothing that cannot be accessed. When connecting, use all your senses and tell the seeker what you're seeing, feeling, and hearing that is being given to you by the departed loved one. It is okay to be a little proactive and ask the spirit some questions such as, what is your relationship to the seeker? What do you do for work? How many children do you have? Do you have any defining physical features? You can even ask for the spirit's first name. Never censor what you are receiving with your own interpretations, and do not be afraid to share what seems to be the most unusual information. You may be quite surprised when your seeker confirms the evidence. So here, it's the medium needs to trust the spirit that they are communicating with and ask the spirit to give evidences so that the one who they are trying to help will believe them that it is really a message coming from their loved one. So in a certain sense, it's the same also. When you are going to make a certain decision, even if you are not a medium, you can communicate with the divine, with the spirit, and ask them, please help me to really see that it is related to this problem that I might find. Sometimes there is that sense of trust, asking, okay, please, I'm a little bit uneasy. It's like learning to communicate also with the spirit. When you ask for something from the divine, it's nice when you ask of it as somebody like a little child who trusts, who asks with trust, who asks with faith. And when a child asks or communicates with people and asks with faith, when they ask for something, they also proactively ask more detail. Like, what can you can ask for certain details. Like you can even ask the thing that you would like to request for in a certain detail. Like for example, when a child asks for a bicycle, they would even give the color, they would even give certain things. So there should be a certain sense of freedom also when you communicate, especially when you are asking for certain instructions or certain answers to certain problems. It's like the way we communicate also with other people. The important thing here is that you are also very receptive to the response that will be given to you. So if you ask for something, don't hesitate also to ask for certain detail or for more details in the information to the answer that you're trying to look for. And when the answer comes, it's okay to communicate and say, okay, it's not a little bit clear. Can you please clarify it a little bit more? And then the important thing there is learning to trust what comes into your mind, or what feeling you start to feel, or what direction you are being led to. It is learning to trust the spirit and learning to trust your intuition, your gut feeling, and your first thoughts. It can be exciting, especially when the things that comes to you and when you trust them and you act on them, when they become confirmed, it also makes you learn to trust more the guiding hand of the spirit in our life, and life becomes more exciting. And then you realize, oh, I never thought it's not really that difficult, and I just needed to really trust the spirit. So something like that. Okay, so this is what we can find right now from the card from the Mediumship training deck. It's learning to trust your intuition, learning to trust those thoughts that comes to our mind, learning to trust the synchronicities of events, learning to trust our dreams, and allowing the spirit to surprise us in our life's journey. So that's it for today. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the likes and comments you constantly give to the channel. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. Until that moment, may God continue to bless your ways.